I think we should just stay like that.
I think so too. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm using my wine glasses and my microphone is like way off.
Oh
Good
gosh.
Lord.
And I was like trying to reach to get your story up for you and I can't.
Well, no, I've got it on my phone, but that's why I was holding both the mic and the wine glass in one hand. Wow, guys, this is a rough start. Okay.
At least you have wine. That's nice.
Oh, thank God I have wine.
You gave me a lot of wine the other day. Very appreciated. I love that Pacific Rim. Like, that's my favorite wine.
Yeah.
And I put it in the freezer and I got frozen and like slushy, which is also my new favorite thing to do. And then I had my roommate try it and he was like, that is good. I was like, we need to go find this.
Right. We need to go buy more.
Yes.
This wine that I'm drinking is a Moscato, and it's really good, but it's so sweet. And I think I've gotten used to drinking wines that are a little drier.
Yeah.
And so I wish that I had like some seltzer water or
To, like, cut it.
Yeah, and make it like a spritzer, but oh well.
The Pacific Rim is a sweet Riesling, so it's just like not as sweet as Moscato, but it's just like right there. I love it.
Well, this one was really good last night. I was trying to fall asleep and I was coughing and I didn't have anything in the house other than water and wine to drink. And so David brought me one of each and I was like, cool, I already took all my nighttime meds, but I'm going to chase them with this bottle of wine sitting on my nightstand. So this is what's left.
My throat is like on fire from how much
pollen.
Oh, I was to say it's for how much I've been drinking lately.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because yesterday it was dry, just like constantly. Like I had that tickle in my throat and I almost died here the other day.
Yeah.
That was after I drank all night and like my throat is just on fire.
Well, you claim you own that. I'm gonna maintain that this sound is the pollen and exhaustion.
Oh gosh.
So I think, well, let's do our intro.
Yeah.
But then we owe everybody a big shout out.
Yeah.
We were saying that we didn't have any, but actually
we do.
Welcome to Crime Crazy, the weekly or every other week for a little while true crime podcast with Aaron Pleim
and Jordan Middleton,
where we prove
that we know nothing about our legal system,
but we are still crazy for a good true crime story, even if we can't make it here every week for a little while.
Guys, since, let's see, April 1st specifically for me, and then shortly after for you.
Oh my God.
It has been, like, I don't know. I don't think we've stopped, like, moving. Like, it's just constant, like, literally
insanity.
moving, though. But, yeah it's been insane. It's been a little overwhelming.
Right.
But I feel like you're at a good place now.
I think I am. I was actually saying that in a meeting I was at earlier today, that I finally feel like even though our house is on the market and in 49 days we're getting in a moving truck and driving halfway across the country, like, I still feel like now I can relax compared to the rate we've been. I mean, you moved.
Yeah.
And then the moment you got done moving, I was like, you have to help me get the house ready so we can move.
I've been moving until this past Saturday.
Yeah.
So almost the entire month of April, I have either moved myself or you guys.
I know. And we haven't even moved yet.
No.
Also, if our sound sounds a little echoey today, it's totally because my entire house is emptied.
There's nothing in here.
There's nothing on the walls. There's nothing on the floor. Like, it's bare.
It's so strange how echoey it gets just from, like, you don't realize how much it, like, absorbs the sound.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
No, my office was like that today, too. I was hosting orientation this morning, and it was like, sorry it sounds like this, guys, but there are curtains and one bookshelf, and that's all I own.
Yeah.
So everything else is in storage. So shout out to all of you as you are super, super patient with us and continue to love us, even though we have decided we can probably manage one of these every other week.
Yeah, just for a little while until we get back on track.
Yeah, about 2 months. I think 2 months. Then we can have our shit together again.
Are we counting today as May? Because tomorrow's May.
Well, okay, I was thinking
comes out tomorrow.
Like by July.
Oh, okay. All right.
We should have our shit together
May
again.
And June, and then July.
I think we can have it.
Should be.
Yeah.
Because you'll most likely be settled by then.
We'll be moved in enough that I'll be able to unpack my equipment.
And I'll have a totally different job.
I don't want to talk to you about that. We're not talking about that.
It's sad. I was talking to my
guys,
friend about it today.
Here's what I need from you. I need you to all email Jordan. Be like, what the fuck, chick? Just moved to Minneapolis.
I just don't know. I
know.
can't.
It's scary.
I don't know. It is. But it's scary staying too and having to find a different job.
Right. And yeah.
So
okay.
Are you going first or am I going first?
No, it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
It doesn't. We're doing a slightly different episode today too.
We
We're just going to do 2 stories instead of 3.
But the story is pretty great. And I hope I tell it in an okay order. But it has a lot to do with traveling. And we've been talking about moving and traveling and stuff.
Nice. Mine has nothing to do with travel, but it's an awesome
story. This is not even good traveling.
Okay.
So
I'm so ready, I think.
I saw this and I said, oh, I'd kill him. Okay, so it made me mad in the title. So, it's worth it.
The title made you mad?
Yeah. Not the title I wrote, but the article's title.
Okay.
So this guy, and by guy I mean kid because he's 12.
This 12-year-old kid. Got it.
So his real name is not released, but media is calling him Drew.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my title is called Maybe Drew, because that's not his name,
he's
but it's a Maybe Drew.
Okay.
So Drew is 12 years old, and he's a punk, and I hate him, and he deserves everything he gets.
Oh my God.
But he decided to throw a fit because he's a problem child, and that's his life, apparently. And he decided to steal his mom's credit card and fly from Australia to Bali.
Wow.
12 years old. I have to tell you, I had to tell you that. So then the rest of the time you could be mad with me, because the more that the story unfolds, I was like, who the fuck does this guy think he is?
I just want to know, how much is a plane ticket? How much does travel cost?
So I didn't get any numbers, and I was kind of mad because I read 3 different articles, and it was pretty much the same information, just copy and pasted in different directions. So I was like, okay, no one has a number, cool. But
I'm going to try to book a trip right now and see how much it costs.
So you have to get a train ticket to Sydney.
Oh,
Or no, from Sydney to Perth. And then to the airport. And then Perth to Bali.
Okay.
So that's what he did. So
plus you have to eat the whole way and potentially have luggage and possibly stay overnight different places. I mean, assuming there's a hotel involved.
Oh, you just wait. This kid he's okay. Already getting mad. So after 2 unsuccessful attempts to fly out of the country, AKA, he's done this before.
Where are you finding all of these people who are trying to sneak onto planes?
I love it though, but this kid, the other lady was super old, right? She's been doing it for years. He's 12.
Right. It's
and he's tried to do it twice, and he did his research. He was so smart with it, but so he found an airline that was way more relaxed, and that was his ticket out, literally. So once in Bali, he did get a hotel room. He rented a scooter and drove it around, and he also drank beer on the beach while his parents were frantically searching for him in Australia.
Oh my God.
He's just living life. I can't even, I guess if I steal someone's credit card, I could do that. But
is there any reason, is he just a misbehaving kid that was maybe spoiled too much?
His mom literally said he just doesn't like hearing the word no.
So it's not that they're abusive. It's not that there's some legitimate reason for him to run away. He's just a little asshole.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why I hate him even more. It's you don't have a good reason. Him. So media covers they were on a radio show and a Good Morning type of show, news show. So they took this story and ran with it because it's funny, but also kind of scary that a 12-year-old can do that.
Right.
So the mom was put on the hot seat, bad parenting, you're a horrible mother. And she was like, first off, no. She's like, we've done everything under the book. We are running out of options. After the first unsuccessful, thank God they were unsuccessful, trips he tried taking out, the Australian federal police were supposed to get involved and flag his passport, and they were
so he couldn't do it again.
And they were begging them to do that so he wouldn't try even because if he knew, if I get there they're gonna see my name and then I'm not gonna
send me away.
Yep.
Right.
No, so she went back and was like, it has nothing to do with my parenting. Why is this allowed? They just let a 12-year-old boy walk through with a credit card in my name and just
Right.
lie his way right through. And they're like, that's not right.
How old do you have to be? Isn't 12 like the unaccompanied minor? Like, shouldn't he have had to pay for somebody to...
So this
Or is that
airline
American?
specifically that he took was 12 to 15-year-olds could be could fly alone, but it was like a weird fee. Like they had to pay
Okay.
extra to do it, but he didn't care because it was his mom's credit card.
Well, sure.
So, yeah, so he got that, and he got the hotel room, which I remember being 17 and not being able to get a hotel room.
We couldn't book our honeymoon hotel room because we
right.
were 19 and 20, and you
Yep.
can't book unless you're 21.
That's true.
We had to have our mommy and daddy book our hotel, like, honeymoon.
For your honeymoon.
Yeah.
That is so funny. But I was just like, dang, like he is a good liar. I mean,
No kidding. Yeah, he's
very
smooth.
Yeah, he's very clever. So the mom's name is Emma. She was going on saying like, why don't we focus on like the policies of traveling children instead of focusing on my bad parenting. She's like, it was a really rough week. She was like, I feel like shit about it, but I've done everything I could. He's just rebelling.
Right.
Like, some
Right.
kids get real crazy like that. So she got the luck of the draw, apparently. So she kept switching focus to like, we need to focus on this. This is the real concern. So the only way she found out that he was in Bali, like they had no idea he'd even left the country, was that his friend approached the mom and her boyfriend or whatever, maybe his dad, I don't know, and said that he geotagged one of his videos that he was in Bali.
Holy smokes.
So the friend was the one that was like...
That ratted him out.
Yeah, he was... Because it had been days.
She didn't know at that point that the credit card was missing and like looked to see where the credit card activity
So that's what
was.
I kept reading and trying to figure out because like, I guess... I don't know if that would be like the first thing I checked.
I was going to say, I guess honestly, I'm so bad at getting my card back into my wallet that if I didn't need to use it for a few days, I probably would just assume it was in my purse somewhere.
Yeah. So I was thinking if she thought he was around town or just, at a friend's house and just avoiding her, I probably wouldn't have looked for a missing credit card.
That credit card company should have called her, though. The number of times they've put stops on my account when it's been actually me.
Right. Yeah.
They should have called her.
Right? That would have been convenient because then she could have been like, no, actually, I'm not in Bali.
Right. But thanks for telling me where my kid was.
Yes. So on a radio talk show, they were like, is he going to get in trouble? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely making sure he gets in trouble. He stole my money.
No kidding.
Like,
he now
I don't
needs
care
to
if he's
pay that
12
back.
and,
Right.
yeah. She's like, no, he's going to pay for what he did this time. So, which I was like, well, yeah. I can only imagine how much a train ticket to the city, then a plane ticket international,
right?
And then nights at the
not
hotel
cheap.
and whatever else he bought to survive.
Well, and I'm sure that he wasn't worried, like you were saying, about what things cost. He was like, you know what, this would be more comfortable and fun. I'm gonna do this.
Oh, yeah,
it's
definitely.
not my money.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a free trip, so why not?
Right.
So that was in that same radio talk show that she was on. She said, we do discipline him, but everything we've tried, this stuff happens all the time.
Right.
So, and then, with the 2 previous attempts of trying to leave the country, they had hid his passport. They begged the federal police to block his passport or put a flag on it or something. And
trying to protect their kid.
Yeah. So she flat out said, she was like, we're begging them to help us because he can do it again. And what if he succeeds? And then, of course, this happens. So that was his plan. He was going to try again, and he found the more relaxed type of airline. It was a low budget type of airline.
Right.
So I was like, that's probably ones that people don't feel comfortable flying on, and yet. So he coaxed his grandma into telling him where his passport was.
Oh my God.
Which I wanted so much more about how he did that, but I guess people didn't think that was interesting. Me, I'm like, what'd you tell your grandma? I need to know.
Well, right. And then what did mom say to grandma when she found out? That's how he found his passport. Because,
yeah. So that, especially if the grandma remembered, he tried to leave the country 2 other times and he's 12. Maybe I shouldn't tell him. I know. I wanted more information.
If you're a 12-year-old, you never need your passport unless your mom is with you. There's no reason
you're not even a
12-year-old.
teenager.
No, there's no reason you'd ever independently need your passport.
Oh, no. So he got it out of the grandma where the passport was and then stole his mom's credit card and then started packing. So he filled his school backpack with clothes and that just to look like he was going to school. And he grabbed his Razor scooter, which, ow, first off, all I could think of is them hitting my ankles. And then, like, he just acted like he was going to school. So she didn't think anything of it.
Sure.
Because he had a backpack and a scooter.
Probably
so
relieved
whatever.
he was going to school.
Right? So instead, he got on the train to the airport and left for Bali. He was gone for 4 days before they found him with the geotag. That's like when they found him. It was a video of him playing in a pool at the hotel. And they, you know, so then it really came out that, oh, well, his passport must not be flagged if he's in another country.
Right, he made
like,
it.
That didn't work, and she was flipping out because they had promised that they would flag it or something, but they ended up trying to defend themselves, but it ended up being stupid. So anyway.
In Jordan's professional opinion, it was stupid.
Yes, it was so stupid. So he started getting, like, I guess, worried, or maybe he started, like, having a gut feeling that, oh, my time's running out.
Right.
So he locked himself in the hotel room. Then when police came, he wouldn't open up to where they had to unscrew the window, take the window, and go in that way to get him.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, what a brat.
No kidding.
Like you can't live in the hotel the rest of your life. They're not going to give up.
Right.
I
They'll
hate
just go
that.
away after a while.
I'm like,
I won't starve to death first, I swear.
Right? They're definitely going to get you. Like, why? I hate when there's, like, a police standoff or anything. It's like, how many times do you see, oh, and they did get away?
And they got away. They locked themselves in the hotel room for 36 hours, and the police were like, you know what? I gotta go.
Yeah, we're done.
This is too much.
He was just being a brat, and he is a brat. So...
And he is a brat.
The police took him in, and since he wasn't under arrest, they can only hold him for 24 hours. So,
he's a minor.
Yeah.
You can hold him for as long as it takes.
They said because there were no criminal charges that they could only hold him for 24 hours.
That does not make any sense to me at all. It's a safety issue. Unless that meant that after 24 hours they could send him to social services and lock him in a group home till the mom got there.
Maybe.
But there shouldn't...
It just said because he wasn't a criminal that they could only hold him for the max.
And he was a criminal. He stole a credit card.
So they didn't arrest him, and they just held him there. And so then the mom and her partner flew out there, which the Australian Federal Police helped arrange her getting out there.
Oh, well,
in
that's
time.
good.
And I was like, well, yeah, that's like a last minute. It's not like she has a credit card to put it all charged on.
Right. She's already spent that money once.
So, I guess on the show, he went with them to the show. I don't know. So he was interviewed, and he yeah, I know. It's like, don't make him famous for this. Like, this is crazy. But he said, he's like, yeah, I'm grounded until forever because mom's still pissed at me. Even when they went and picked him up, he said, I got a hug from dad, but mom wouldn't even look at me. And I was like, I wouldn't either, asshole. Like, oh, God.
She's furious. I swear she's glad you're safe. However.
Yeah. Well, when she picked him up and, like, okay, he was safe, then she turned her, like, anger towards him not being flagged like they had promised that he was.
Right.
So I don't know. She pretty much called them out and was like, this is a bad but perfect example about how easy it is to fool you. Yeah. Like, you as the federal police, she's like, what does that say about you? So then they were like, oh shit. But so they did say that they couldn't flag it because if they flagged it, he'd have to be a criminal or this or that. But now obviously things have changed, so maybe they'll flag it now. But they were just like, oh well, we can't ban him because he's not a criminally, what did they say? Like, he hasn't had an offense that marks you as, like, a felon, like, type of thing. And I'm like, well, hopefully now it's a safety issue. And
also, I'm sure he met the minimum amount to be a felon if she presses charges, which she probably won't. I don't know that it would even be the right thing for her to do because that... then what does he have to look forward to?
Well, I mean, it's not like he can pay her back or anything.
Right. He's 12. He can't get a job.
Yeah, but he, so he stayed there for 4 days and drank beer and rented a scooter and had a hotel room, and he had the time of his life. So
Drew, not Drew, I hope it was worth it.
I hope that he's grounded forever, and I would have beat his ass if he was my kid. Just saying.
PSA to Jordan's future children.
I don't give a fuck. I'm coming at you.
You better watch out.
Don't steal my credit card.
Although knowing Jordan and you know, you probably have a little more leeway than that, but I still wouldn't push it.
No, I can be a pushover sometimes, but then other times I'm like, get the F out of my face. It was funny. Like your daughter earlier was being like so sassy. And I said, Sophia, you kind of have an attitude issue. And she's like, I don't have an issue. You do. And I said, oh, girl. I said, oh. I was like, well, that might be true, but I'm in charge.
She's 2.
Yeah, she gives me the side eye.
Oh, my gosh.
But she's like, oh, she's so good at talking in like conversation.
Oh, yeah. No, she's, yes.
I was like, she's just copying me. But anywho.
She's heard that once or twice. Well, I have a very different story of murder and betrayal and all sorts of horrible things.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I swear I was reading this story and it's so familiar to me that I must have heard it on somebody else's podcast. So I would love to give someone credit, but I can't remember who it was. However, I've just now this moment remembered that last night I had another dream that I was podcasting with other true crime podcasters. Oh,
that's cool.
So this time, M from And That's Why We Drink. I don't remember what the circumstances were, but somehow I got in touch with her and I was like, hey, you want to come hang out? And in real life, she lives in California. We live in Virginia.
Yeah.
But we were close enough that she was like, hey, yeah. And so she came over and we were hanging out and podcasting and I was trying to get a hold of you so that we could like actually do an episode. And it was super exciting. So anyway, that was my dream.
That's funny.
I dreamt about wine and crime recently as well.
Oh, that's so funny.
Although that one ended with like, it wasn't even Matthew Gray Gubler. It was like, Dr. Spencer Reid, yeah, and he was in that one too, so it was like all kinds of craziness.
That would be such a good dream.
Also, I could say this as I haven't been sleeping particularly well.
Yeah.
But I've been having wild dreams to compensate. So, whatever podcast this is from, I enjoyed it so much that when I randomly found it again, now I'm going to podcast about it, so here we go. So we have a murderer, and I'll go ahead and just start off with him. His name is George Joseph Smith, and he commits all kinds of crimes. Murder, of course, being the worst one, although there are some other things in here as well.
Oh,
and the people that he murdered were his wives.
Oh.
Sort of.
Okay.
So he murdered 3 women who at least believed they were legally married to him.
Okay.
The first one actually was. And we're going to get into detail about all of these in just a little bit. The other one's not so much legally married to him in all cases.
Okay.
So, partly because he often used fake identities and other ruses. So, let's start with the victim. So we're in about 1910, 1913 or so. And the situation is in Great Britain, there are lots of men who have left, young men who've left to come over here to the colonies, and they have left behind all of the young women about their age. And so there's a big difference in men versus women. So there are a lot of young women who can't find someone to marry, which of course in this time period is still pretty problematic for a woman who can't find a husband as far as supporting herself and being accepted in society, all of that kind of thing. So it made them very, very easy prey to this man.
Yeah.
Smith was very smooth talking. He's been described as handsome with like sort of magnetizing stare and that kind of thing. At the same time,
I know it's supposed to be good, but I hate when guys stare at me. I'm like, what?
Yeah, this was like, people said it was like when he looked at them, they were like hypnotized and drawn to him and everything. On the other hand, he's also been described as being like beady-eyed and kind of like creepy looking.
No, thank you.
So I'm
not an eye gazer. Like, even if I love someone, I'm like, okay, stop looking at me. Like, I'm done.
No more eye contact.
I'm done.
Look somewhere else for a little bit.
Close my eyes. Okay, I'm done.
He also was very flashy, and he would wear like brightly colored bow ties and gold rings. That was exactly my thought. Yes. Peacocking, right? So he was slim. He was muscular. He was, I guess that he was hot. I don't know. I know what he's done, so it just seems horrible.
As soon as he said beady eyes, I just thought of like a mole. So that's all I have in my head now.
Right? No, he certainly didn't sound, as they were describing him, not somebody I'd be attracted to. But apparently, I guess if there are no men around and
slim pickings.
Yeah. And then he works. So his very first victim was Bessie Mundy. So in 1912, he had married Bessie. Actually, let me go back a little bit. In 1910, he was walking around Bristol, and he met Bessie Mundy. And she was not beautiful, like in any sort of conventional sense. They refer to her as like plain, but she was very wealthy. So her father had passed away. He had been a bank manager, and from him she had inherited 2,500 pounds, which in today's U.S. dollars was more like $300,000.
Not bad.
So not bad, right? Yeah. Especially for just a single young woman who's, doesn't have a husband with a business and all that good stuff. So, certainly enough to interest Smith. So he introduced himself as Henry Williams, because why go by your real name when you have...
I'm so bad at making up names.
Right?
When someone's like, what's your name? And I don't want to give them my real name. I'm like,
Can we think about it and get back to you? Yeah. I can't remember right now.
On the way to like the bar or something, we're like, okay, fake name. Think of one now. Look, so remember it. Commit it to memory.
See, and I wouldn't be able to remember it, and I certainly wouldn't be able to answer to it. That would be the problem, is if somebody later called that name, I wouldn't be listening for it like I would my own name. But I guess he was much better at this. I don't know. So he told her he was a picture restorer from London, and within weeks had made her fall in love with him and had proposed marriage, and they had gone and gotten married within a matter of weeks of meeting on the street.
Ugh.
Right?
Ugh.
I mean, so I watch enough crime drama.
Yeah.
And it is, 21st century. And I've also been married like my entire life. But I feel like if this kind of situation were to happen to me, I'd be like, red flag, this is not okay. I'm not, we're rushing into this. However, I think in a situation where you don't have a lot of prospects, you're desperate to marry, it's very important that you get married.
Yeah.
You don't know
Throw caution to the wind.
Right. Well, you don't know to be wary of this. You probably have, if you have read it all, you've read lots of books of like whirlwind romances. And then there's this man who comes up to you, and his whole purpose is to get you to marry him. So he is going to be so perfect for you in every way.
True.
And so she probably thought this was a great deal. I'm trying to wrestle dogs off of my lap while I'm reading while I'm talking. So in May of 1912, they had moved to Herne Bay, and they had been married for a while. So Smith got Bessie to make a will naming him as beneficiary, which is not an atypical request to make of your spouse. And really, they had been together for a little while now. So right after this will, the order of events is really interesting.
Okay.
So he must have decided at this point, he probably decided from the get-go that he was going to at least take her money, if not also kill her. But he visited an ironmonger who made all sorts of things out of iron, including cast iron baths. And he asked about the price of a bath, and he was told it cost £2. No big deal. His wife has 2,500. I'm sure he now has access to all of that.
Yeah.
And so then 2 days later, he sends his wife to the shop and had her haggle the price down.
From £2?
From £2. He wanted a discount of 2 shillings. Okay. And of course, the really morbid part about this, which she couldn't have known at the time, is this bath was intended to be the thing that ends up killing her.
Oh, God.
Like, that's why he wanted to purchase it. And so here she is, like, bartering and try to figure out.
Like, ew.
Yeah. So she does, and she purchases the bath, and then he manages to somehow persuade her that she's having these epileptic fits, so seizures, that she not only isn't aware of, but she has no memory of once they're over. And so, like, I don't know if you know it, but right. And he tells her, you know, this is what I've seen happen to you. And then you don't have any memory of it afterward. And it's been going on like our whole marriage. And we're going to go to the doctor and get you checked out. And takes her to the doctor. And of course, she has no memory of these seizures, of these fits. But she tells the doctor all the symptoms that he's laid out. And the doctor's like, oh, that's what this is. You're having these fits. So that's on July 12th. She's at the local doctor. She describes all the symptoms. The very next morning, there is a pencil written note from Smith sent to this doctor that she had just been diagnosed with seizures by. And it just says, come at once. My wife is dead. So the doctor gets there and he finds Bessie in this bath that she purchased under the water, dead. And Smith says, well, this is how I found her. And, you know, I don't know what happened, but she just was like this. You know, can you help? Can you revive her? Blah, blah, blah. Putting on a real good show. And the doctor can't, of course, revive her. She's dead. And so he determines that she must have had a seizure in the bath. After all, she now has medical evidence that she has a seizure disorder and that she drowned.
Oh, my God.
So suddenly Smith is wealthy.
Yeah.
But he does not spend that on his wife's funeral. He buys her the very cheapest coffin that he can and will not even pay for a private plot. Instead, he has her buried in a common grave.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So then, because he is the creepiest of all creeps, he returns the bath for a refund.
Oh, my, like what? It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. My wife died in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have just been, I can't look at this anymore. I have to move. I'm never going to be able to, sell it to someone else. He must have just put on an act, right? So he wasn't even out the 2 pounds less 2 shillings for the bath, for the murder weapon.
Nope.
Plus, he gets the murder weapon out of his possession and is able to move on.
I cannot.
So this seems like the perfect crime. There was one thing that he had overlooked, and it becomes very important later on, but much, much later on. So Bessie had been holding a bar of soap in her right hand when she died. And when the doctor got there, he made a note that she was still holding this bar of soap very tightly in her hand, even after dying. Yeah. And he didn't know really what to make of that, and nothing was made of it. I mean, they buried her. Like they said, oh, it was a seizure, and then that led to a drowning, and it was, totally accidental, whatever, and move on with your life kind of thing. But he did note in the chart or whatever in the document that she was still holding it, and that was a little bit strange. Okay. So moving on. Then we get to Alice Burnham. So she was a young nurse, and met Smith the very next year in September. So first wife dies in July.
Okay.
September, a year later, they meet in Southsea. They get married November 4th. So again, very, very quickly. And he took her on the wedding day to a doctor to certify that she was healthy enough for him to take out life insurance on her. So he takes out £500 of insurance on his wife. Okay, naming himself as the beneficiary.
Of course.
December, so the very next month, he decides that they're going to go to Blackpool on a delayed honeymoon. So they didn't get to go back in November, but now, this romantic gesture. And it seems great. Okay, so they go away on this romantic month later honeymoon. And they get to a boarding house where they're going to stay, and they walk in, and Smith is like, we can't stay here. And so they leave. And the reason that he turned it down, which of course she didn't know, no bathroom. Yeah. So they found rooms with a widow whose name was Margaret Crossley. And they stayed there. I guess Margaret did have a bathroom with a bathtub. So he then immediately takes his new wife, Alice, to the doctor, claiming that she has persistent headaches and he's very concerned about her. And so I'm not sure at this point, because that's actually also what he's going to claim with the next wife. Oh. Spoiler alert. There's another wife after this. And so they must have had something. Yeah. Because I feel like it would be much easier to convince somebody that they had a seizure disorder that caused memory loss than a headache they couldn't remember. So maybe they occasionally had headaches, or he was doing something to give them headaches, or whatever else. But so he plays it up. This is super dangerous. Takes her to the doctor. Okay. Then he takes her back home. The evening of Friday, December the 12th, which is 3 days after they arrived there. So they arrive, they go to the doctor a couple nights later. Miss Crossley notices that there are some small drops of water coming through her kitchen ceiling. Alice is in the bath upstairs, and there's like water dripping through. Well, Smith is there at the time. And as soon as she notices these drops of water, before she has a chance to really think anything of it, Smith comes down the stairs. He's in the kitchen, strikes up a conversation. They talk for a while, essentially distracts her, gives himself an alibi. A little bit afterwards, he's like, well, I need to go back up and, see to my wife. She's been in that bath for a really long time. Yeah, he goes up.
Placing the story.
Screams, oh my God, she's dead. He discovers that she's dead in the bath. There are no signs of any foul play. The inquest jury decided that Alice had probably had a headache, since she was known to have headaches, and she had fainted and drowned. Okay. They had only been married a month when she died. Yeah, so the first wife was like 2 years, right? Then a month. Okay. Third wife, Margaret Lofty. So Margaret Lofty marries John Lloyd, aka Smith, with another name. He met her ironically in Bath. Oh my God. The following November, so 1 year after murdering wife number 2. Yeah. They got married December 18th, so again, about a month, right? He gets life insurance on her for £700. They go on a honeymoon. So this is like December 19th. They go on a honeymoon in North London in Highgate. And he immediately, first day of their marriage, takes his new wife to the doctor. She has chronic headaches. I don't know what to do. I'm very concerned. The very following evening, their landlady, the person they were staying with, whose name was Louisa Blatch, is ironing in her kitchen when she hears a bunch of splashing coming from the bathroom. And then, that sound on, and I'm sure that this was like a porcelain tub or an iron tub, but it's the same as like anything, with that screech when you rub part of your skin, like your hand or something. So they hear that. And then a sigh. Okay. Then a couple minutes later, there is some music being played in their sitting room, and then the front door slams, and then John Lloyd, or Smith, knocks a few minutes later, explaining that he had gone out. His wife wanted tomatoes with her dinner, and so he'd gone out to buy some, and he was back now, but he had forgotten his key, couldn't get in. Could she let him in? So she lets him in. Right? Now he has an alibi. Yep. And there is his wife.
Oh no, she's dead.
Oh no, she's dead in the bath. Okay. However, all of that alibi creation in this case is really not necessary, because they immediately are like, well, no, she just fainted and drowned. Like, nobody did anything to her. We can't find marks on her body. Like, nobody held her underwater. There's nothing, right?
I just don't.
Right? So, he now has a total of about 3,700 pounds, or almost $400,000 ish today. And he could have gone on to to do this over and over and over again. Every time he gave a different name, every time these women were found in the bath, nobody was suspicious. Like, aside from the bar of soap thing, nobody even questioned there was any chance that these were murders. It was just, this poor man just lost his wife. Like, this is so terrible.
Again.
Well, no, but they wouldn't even have connected it because he was a different man every time. Yeah. It was more like, well, he must have been such a caring husband. The first thing he did was to get her help, and then it just wasn't enough, and poor guy, and then give him all the money. However, Alice Burnham's father had read in the newspaper about Margaret Lofty's death and recognized some similarities and put two and two together that, this is the same husband.
Good for him.
And these deaths are very, very similar. And so he went to the police, and Smith was arrested in February of 1915. He had gone to the lawyer to discuss the will, that Margaret Lofty's will, basically to find out when he could get his money. And he was arrested there. So now that the police were suspicious that these deaths might also be murders, witnesses came forward and they identified him as the same people. Right, this is the same person. Well, that is so and so. Oh, and that, he's also so and so. So they started sort of putting things together, and then they exhumed the bodies. The problem being that, first of all, the bodies were in no condition to do any sort of autopsy anyway, and even if they had been, there was no sign of foul play at all, so they couldn't find anything. The only thing, again, was Bessie Mundy, that first victim, she wasn't in the coffin, but when she died, she was still holding the bar of soap. And it seemed most plausible to doctors that had she fainted, or had she, had an epileptic fit or anything like that, that she would have let go of the soap and would not have drowned, gripping it tightly. But they couldn't figure out anything from this aside from the fact that it looked like she died very suddenly. And that it didn't seem like she had any time to have put up a fight. And if that was the case for her, it seemed reasonable that the next two wives...
It was the same situation.
Exactly. So the theory in court that was presented, because they couldn't figure out how, is that Smith had been in the bathroom with the wives, and that he had gone to the end of the tub and, without any sort of warning, grabbed their legs and pulled them underwater very, very quickly. And that doing that, and that modern science would even support this to an extent, that water rushing down their throat could put pressure on the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that runs down your neck. And that it would slow the heart rate very, very quickly, and that you would essentially pass out, and that then they could have drowned. And so in a way, they really did faint or pass out or have a fit or whatever. It just was induced by him pulling their legs out from under them. So because you wouldn't die from your heart rate decreasing so quickly, you would just lose consciousness. And normally, if you weren't then under the water, you would recover and you'd be fine.
Wake up.
So that was the theory, and that's kind of where people think what they think happened now. The other theory that was put forth, so they do end up finding Smith guilty, and they sentence him to death by hanging. Dang. And before he is hanged, he never gives away the secret of how he managed to kill his wives. So to this day, we'll never know for sure. However, after he was sentenced to death and everything was all said and done, his lawyer, who apparently was allowed to talk much more openly, I guess attorney-client privilege disappeared at that point.
Hey, whatever.
Came forward and said that he'd had this long conversation, and what he believed happened was that Smith had hypnotized his wives into, at the very least, letting themselves be killed, right? Relaxing or whatever else. Of course, even if you believe that this is possible, which modern hypnotists will tell you, that's not how it works, that it's mostly a mind trick, and that the part that is not is you're not going to convince anybody to do anything that's going to cause them harm or anything they wouldn't normally do anyway. And anyway, that still doesn't explain why his first victim was holding on to the bar of soap.
Yeah.
Surely if she was hypnotized into a state where she could be persuaded to inhale water voluntarily, she would have also been relaxed enough to let go of the bar of soap. So probably the most likely scenario is that he did something like pull their legs out from under them. And yeah.
That's so crazy.
So there is a book on the subject.
Dang.
And I so want to read it, and I wish that I could tell you exactly what it was called right this moment, but wouldn't you know, I don't see it. Let's see. I might have to put it in. Oh, here we go. The Magnificent Spilsbury and the Case of the Brides in the Bath by Jane Robbins.
Oh, wow.
So that's really, I think that's fascinating, and that's a book that I definitely want to read. It's on my list.
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting is that this was such a famous and interesting case even then, that for years and years and years there was a wax figure of him in one of the Madame Tussauds. Isn't that what's,
yeah. Ew.
Chamber of Horrors.
Oh my gosh. I've been to the one in Hollywood, and it's mostly like scary movie figures, not like people.
Right.
It was like Chucky and
right.
Jason.
Well, I think there are a lot of celebrities and that kind of thing, which for his time, he would have been a celebrity. Like this guy who somehow, without leaving a mark, managed to murder and get away with murdering three wives.
That's insane to me.
And he did scam a bunch of other women. Like there were other victims as well, just not other victims of murder. So
that's insane.
He did end up being hanged August of 1915. Swore he was innocent till the end and never gave up his secret. I just don't know what the point. I mean, I guess the point is that at least currently, if you're being put to death here until the very, very end, there's a chance you might not die. So you would never be able to just.
I guess so.
I don't know. I just feel like once you get through your appeals or most of your appeals or a couple of your appeals, wouldn't it just be a relief to be like, you know what? Yeah, I did it. Like, okay, there's no point. Yeah. Here's my fate.
Because then when you get to prison, you use it as street cred.
Sure. Even on death row, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's an important thing. But whatever.
That was crazy.
Right? I'm just fascinated by this, like, it's almost a perfect crime. Had he stopped even after number two,
he would have got away with it.
Nobody ever would have known. Mm-mm. He could have even switched to a different method of murder after that and probably gotten away with it for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
But he was so greedy, and it worked for him a couple times.
It always happens that way when money gets involved.
It's true. Well, and stupid criminals.
Well,
and everything else.
That's true.
So, anyway, that is my story.
I liked it. The cat is behind me, guys, on the couch, and she keeps kicking me every time I move. Yep. And I flipped my hair and it hit her in the head, and she hissed at me.
Yeah, she was not pleased about that. She's trying to sleep.
That's why I randomly was like, Kit Kat. Like, oh my God, stop.
She doesn't just randomly scream out Kit Kat when she's hearing crime stories.
Now she swerved my kiss. Never mind.
She did. She was fast asleep and still managed to avoid you.
Whatever.
So other than shouting out to everybody for being so patient, and we will figure out this weekly thing again. Yeah. I think that pretty much wraps up what we have for this week.
I think so.
And we will definitely be back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And so it'll be May. May is the most awesome month because it's my birthday month.
So much going on in May.
Oh my God, it's insane.
Like my May, when I first moved in with Aaron, the calendar, every time it would like switch to May, I was like,
it's like an anxiety attack.
Yeah. But now it's like even more May.
Yeah.
So like this weekend alone is going to be insane because it's Jackie's birthday and Cinco de Mayo and a wedding I'm going to with Lindsay. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are already planned.
Well, it would have been Arts in the Park.
I know.
But it sounds like you're too busy for that.
I know. It makes me sad because I love Arts in the Park.
I hope it's a gorgeous weekend for it. We've been having such lovely weather this week. We had a little bit of rain last week, but other than the rain, it's been really gorgeous here.
I know.
So
now I'm trying to see if I could squeeze that in because I really love Arts.
She's like, okay, how can I make this work?
Well, I mean, Cinco de Mayo and birthday stuff is always like late night, like out night type stuff. So.
Well, and who's to say you can't start Cinco de Mayo at an arts festival?
True.
So
that funnel cake last year changed my life. So Lindsay, Sarah, and I were like, it was so good.
I'm not even a fan of funnel cake.
I like them, but not like I'm not obsessed. But it was amazing. It was over the moon.
All right. Well, I know what I'm doing this weekend then.
Yep.
So I guess that we should leave off with a double wonderful thank you to all of our wonderful Patreon supporters.
We love you.
And everyone who follows us on Twitter and follows us on Podbean and Instagram, emails us.
I always want to randomly post stuff on Instagram and be like, y'all, look at this.
Right. Every once in a while I do.
This has nothing to do with true crime, but look.
I think I posted one of Toby's paintings that way, actually.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, half the time it's an accident, and I'm like, you know what? They'll like this too. It's cool. So
that's great.
And if you want to get in touch with us, we are pretty much everywhere. Crime Crazy Podcast or Crime Crazy Pod, and so you can find us pretty easily.
Just go to our website, crimecrazypodcast.com.
Yep, and then you can click all of the links,
all the things,
to get to all of the things. So
that's the easiest.
And until next time,
please. Okay, I have to say please because we have like a broad, like, don't travel and steal, but don't also kill your wife. So it's like nothing in between, please. Please don't end up on next week's episode.